Being at 5:15, I call Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Need to adopt the agenda.
She got that one.
I gotta stop when we get her autograph.
Second.
We need a second. Okay, there you go.
No,
I can
Second, sorry about that.
There you
Second.
go.
motion been made and seconded to adopt the agenda. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Need to approve the October 26, 2021 minutes.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the October 26, 2021 minutes. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Carried. Personal success story of up and coming New London area business. Macaport.
Mhm. Bill, do you want to introduce Nick? And
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Nick Schaefer. He's in the green shirt back there, and he's a gentleman who started a business and
right by April, right here. Over here.
basically in his current home and looking to, at some point grow the business. And I thought he'd be a good person to come in and talk, because we're all ambassadors of growing New London. And you guys know me, I'm a grassroots, and John's brought some folks in for fishing. And, a lot of these people, if you look at some of these, this one just as an example of Apple and Google and Amazon and Disney and Harley, they're all pictures of garages, every one of these. And I just thought it's a good opportunity to hear some of the things that maybe Nick encountered while opening and starting his business. And, share that I think it's up to all of us to embrace all these small businesses that we encounter every day. So.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Like Bill said, my name's Nick. I really never had any plan of really starting a business, and that's kind of where this all kind of started. Was I started coaching cross country at the high school about 11 years ago. Started coaching track a little while after that, so I've been around those programs for a while. I've kind of been around the screen printing industry for most of my career. I actually got my first dabble in it up at the high school. I graduated in New London 2006, and they used to have a class up there called graphics. And I was in there, and that's where I first learned to shoot screens. We printed shirts for a project and stuff like that. Then after that, I ended up going and working summer help at Jansport over in Appleton when I was in college. Went through my college career, and then it just happened to be that my very first job out of college, I got offered a plant manager job over at a ink manufacturing place over in Greenville. And we focused on making plastisol ink that got used to print on t-shirts. And our main focus was actually heat transfers, which I had never heard about before. Everything I had done, you throw the ink in the screen, you squeegee it onto the shirt, you throw the shirt in the dryer, and it goes through. Our customers that we were selling ink to were producing heat transfers. So you print it either on paper or film, and I got a couple examples here. So instead of putting it on the shirt, you're actually putting it on either a piece of paper, or there's a clear polyester film that works as well. And you print it right on these designs. And as you can see by something like this, where it's like a left chest or whatever, with one pass of the squeegee, you can print, say, 6, 7, 8 designs at a time rather than one shirt at a time. And then another huge benefit of this is, instead of putting that image right onto a shirt, which might cost you, say, $10, $15, if you mess it up, you press it off on this, you're talking maybe a piece of film, maybe $1 or so, a piece of paper less than $1. And then you're also able to print extra so that you can go back and make duplicate copies of the shirt without having to reshoot a screen, which is a big part of the process. I mean, each screen is going to take their own color of ink. So if you want to try and reorder or reproduce the same design, you got to go through and make all those screens again. So our customers were doing this. As I was going with coaching, I was ordering shirts, obviously, for the team every year. We had a team shirt that we had every year. We host a cross-country meet in Hatton Park, and that's one of our big fundraisers. We have shirts brought in, and we sell shirts there. I had done this for maybe the first 2 years of coaching. I was using a company that was doing direct print, and I'm sitting there and at the end of the cross country meet, I'm stuck with, say, a box of shirts that we didn't sell that are sizes that you might not be able to get rid of, and you're not able to get rid of them maybe the next year or something like that. So you're sitting on all these shirts year after year. You can't keep accumulating these shirts. So I was trying to find a way. I was like, my customers are all printing these heat transfers. I could go out and buy a heat press within a couple of years. Just the money I'm saving on not having all these extra shirts being printed, I could just print the exact amount of shirts that I need, and I don't have anything left over. So I went ahead one year and I decided to buy my first heat press just to do my team shirts, and had one of my customers print up the transfers for me, brought them up there. As the kids came in that first day of practice, I took what size they wanted. I had blank shirts that I had bought in bulk at my house ready to go. The second day I had that night I went home, I pressed off all the shirts that they needed, the exact amount of what I needed, brought them to the next day of practice, second day of practice. They all had their shirts ready to go. And I had done this now probably like say 2 years. And then one of my old coaches, he was coaching tennis at the time, Jim Fisher. He knew I started doing this. So he actually asked me if I could do the tennis team. So I started doing the tennis team, and then suddenly someone else at the high school had heard about me. So I started kind of getting like little groups of people at the high school that kept asking for me to do these shirts. And I'm sitting here like, well, as I'm getting more and more of these, obviously there's a need for something like this in our community, and something where I'm trying to save these programs money as well, where they're not having all these extra shirts and stuff like that. So as that was going, I was like, well, maybe I should look at maybe starting a business. And the problem was I had helped run that business. I was the plant manager over there. I had my hands kind of in everything, but I had no clue at all as far as what to do to start, actually get a business going, what I needed to do, anything like that. So my first step, I was like, well, I should maybe go in and talk about getting maybe a checking account forward and stuff like that. So and that's where I met Bill. And Bill has been a huge help to me. That first day I was in there, and I could tell he knew I really didn't know what the heck I was doing or anything like that. I just knew I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I didn't know where to go from there. And Bill actually turned me on to a group in Stevens Point, the SBDC. I think it's Small Business Development Center. And my goodness, those guys were beyond helpful. I cannot sing their praises enough. And I can't say thanks to Bill enough for turning me on to them. I sent them an email. They got back to me right away. They set up a meeting. I went over there and met with a guy. His name was Mike Spires. And I told him what I wanted to do, where I was kind of lost and what I needed to do. He kind of was figuring out where I kind of stood. And he gave me a bunch of handouts of stuff that I needed to do, kind of walk me through the process, and told me that he was going to send me an email. Well, by the time I had left Stevens Point and got back to New London, he had already sent me the email, and it was literally a step-by-step process with hyperlinks in this email with what I needed to do. So as far as checking for name availability, there was a link for that, setting up an EIN number, all that, what I had to do as far as get insurance, banking information, stuff like that. And it was literally, it was probably not even a 2-page email, but it was so perfect with how he had it laid out for me to do. And that, for me, that's exactly what I needed at the time. And that's what got me kind of jump-started and going. And then since then, I had a kid on my team. His parents invited me over to their house after our last cross-country meet one time. His name's Corey Defferding. He works, he's over at Northland Electrical. I had kind of told him, I said, yeah, I'm looking at getting this business going and stuff like that. He's like, well, we love doing business with people in New London. And he's like, if you want, we'll give you a shot at it. And I was like, all right. And at that time, I was still kind of real nervous and stuff like that with not wanting what I was going to do. So I sat on it for about a week. I sent him an email. I said, hey, can you send me your logo? I'll work on getting a quote and see what happens from there. I sent them the quote, and I'm not even joking, probably within a day, they sent over an order. And I mean, it was a fairly decent sized order. And then they kind of went through and told me about how much they do, which kind of blew me away. And that's really where it kind of like jump started for me too, because that was like the first real main like steady revenue that was coming in, because they're ordering on a monthly basis, sometimes a 2-month basis type thing. And I kind of got stuff going that way. And then since then, I've done a lot quite a few jobs here in New London. I've spread out into a couple of bars and stuff like that on the outside as well, where I think the big benefit with those guys is instead of they have to order a bunch of shirts, they're sitting on the same thing, trying to guess the sizes. So what I can do for them is, hey, I'll print up a couple of each size, different colors that you want. You have them in there as you need 3-4 shirts. Just let me know. It doesn't take me anything. I have the transfers already ready to go. I just press them off, deliver them myself. And that way they're not sitting on a stock of $200, $300 a shirt. Rather they're sitting on say like $50 worth of shirts. So that it's something that's not part of their main business, but they want to offer a way for them to advertise. And then since then, I've actually went in and I bought equipment so I can produce my own transfers down in my basement. So I don't just have that. And I've been kind of reaching out now, kind of the future where I want to go. I started kind of getting there because I honestly want to do sports teams, local businesses where they use the same shirt over and over. I'm looking for reorders, so you don't have to have a lot of inventory and stuff like that. I can just knock it out for you, help you out that way. And then also I could get into on-site printing. So if you have an event or something like that, like over at the cross country meet, I'll have blank shirts sitting there. I have the transfer sitting there. So there's nothing made up beforehand. As the kids come up and they want to order a shirt, you press it off right there. It takes about 10 seconds. They get their shirt. I just recently did a sled dog race up in like Antigo area where I had like 5 different designs of shirts, a t-shirt option, a sweatshirt option with a hood, a sweatshirt without a hood, and then like a hockey style with that. The people come up, there's a couple different colors for each one. They go on the table, they can try them on, try them out. They bring them over to the press station, tell them what design they want on it. They press it off, and then from there, I also have a CAD cutter there, so you can put your name on the back if you want. A lot of people out there wanted the dogs that were pulling their studs on the name and stuff like that. So I want to continue to grow that events side of it as well. And then I recently just got into online team stores as well, where now I'm setting up stores online. So if an organization or anything like that wants to put up a store, I can put it on the website. People come in, just place orders right on that. So if the high school coaches don't have to collect any money, it just goes right into there. If they want to use it for a fundraiser, I can tell them what I need to make on the product. They can upcharge it to whatever they want. At the end of the store, I can send them a check for anything extra that they made. Or like I'm doing with the cross country or the track program, we actually, I don't plan on ever closing those stores. Those stores are permanently open online. So I have designs on there that we've had for the last couple of years. Each year I'll add like a design or two, but those old designs will stay on there. So as people come up in the program, they can go onto this online store, and if they want a different design, they're going to have 6-7 different options of a cross-country shirt that they can order on there, rather than having just one option each year type of thing. So as they go, there'll be more and more options for them on there. And I just don't close those stores. As orders come in, I print them, I bring them over to the people's house, or I deliver them out to wherever they need to go as soon as they order them. So that's pretty much, like I said, I had no interest in starting a business. It was something that just kind of snowballed and got going. And my biggest struggle, obviously, like I said, was not knowing where to go, not knowing any resources or anything like that. Knowing I wanted to do something, but not knowing how to get to that point. So obviously, I'm here for anything that you guys need to ask me as far as anything that would help you guys out as a group of kind of stuff that I've gone through based on my story or whatever. Anything that may have triggered where you think that you can ask me that I'm maybe looking to try and do where maybe I haven't thought of it yet, or something like that, where I can help you out and try to lead you into anything that you guys would need to do as far as helping out the group here.
I got a question. This is New London Economic Developments. We're trying to grow New London, and what, if there's anything, that I'm going to put you on the spot, there might not be an answer. If there was some things that we could do, because if there's you, there's many more.
Yeah.
Is there anything that pops into your mind easily that we could do as a group that would maybe inspire? Or you talked about the high school. We've got one of the best absolute schools there is, period. I believe that wholeheartedly, and there's a lot of students. as yourself, is there something that we could do to inspire? I don't know, I'm not sure what I'm asking. What would help others have the same mindset or success that you did?
For me, like I said, the hardest part was taking the jump and really trying to figure out what I needed to do. Since I've kind of been in this, like, it may sound silly or whatever, I didn't even know to go check out like the Chamber of Commerce like website or anything like that at the time, because I didn't have an idea on that. Since I've obviously the Chamber website in the last couple of years since I've been on there too has really developed into something that I think is an awesome resource. And just getting that out there, if there's any way to kind of push that to get people to look at that even more, like I think just that website alone right now, I go on there, you see those different resources, the grants, different stuff like that. I think that's probably the biggest thing, just to kind of give the people confidence. Hey, there is a support group here. If you want to do something, there is a support group here that is going to help you get to where you need to go. Even if you don't know what you're doing, there's people here that are going to help you to succeed, to kind of get this up and running. For me, that's the biggest thing. Is for me, like I said, I didn't even know that was an option. And since I found that, I mean, that's a big thing. I see stuff on there for the FBDC and stuff like that. And that group, anytime, if you ever hear of anybody that needs any help with it, if you can funnel those, get that guy's way. Like I said, I can't tell you enough of how helpful that group was. And all they asked me to do at the end was fill out surveys just so that they could justify their means of being there. And that's literally all they asked me for. They told me if I need anything in the future, they're always open. If you get to the point where you want to sell your business, they're there to help you with that process as well. I mean, they can help you from start to finish with anything that you need as far as running a business.
Are you a chamber member yet?
And
Hey, I want to introduce you to April Kapitsky, our Chamber of Commerce Executive Director right there.
yeah, no problem. So no, that's definitely something. As I just jumped full board into this fall. So
Busy.
yeah, and it's been a pretty fast moving pace and stuff like that. But that's definitely something where I do want to be part of the chamber. I'm gonna plan on registering. Obviously, anything I can do to push people that I know that way. And I've talked to a couple kids where in high school where they kind of have like these kind of side things that they're kind of doing and stuff like that. And that's kind of the big thing now where people are trying to do these like side businesses and stuff like that. And you never know where these are gonna go. And those are the things where now that I know it's there, I can kind of help lead people to those kind of resources as well, you know. And obviously just word of mouth, the people you know has been huge.
Are you in a storefront brick and mortar, or are you?
I am not. So right now I'm just, my house is over in the Northport area. I'm actually in my basement. I got all the equipment down there. I've been running it out of my basement. I do have a goal of eventually having, say, a storefront, but also the way I'm kind of looking at it, I'd love to have a storefront just for the exposure part of it. Also having another revenue source where it's coming in, people that may not find me anywhere else, or if they see me or say, I've seen Patty's, they have St. Patty shirts, type thing, like where you're right out there on the main drag for people to find you. But I'll also probably at some point need to look at a manufacturing business, building probably business parts. Well, just the way that it's set up and stuff like that. Some of the equipment that as I get bigger, that I'll need to kind of use these at a higher, faster quantity are pretty big machines that would take up a fair piece of more room.
Are you ready? Please come see us.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Oh, you're right here.
You'd have to move the bed out of your.
No, not yet. I do have a bedroom yet. My car's still in my garage, thank goodness. For a while it wasn't. I'd gotten a couple big orders where there was boxes stacked in my garage and the poor car was outside for a little while.
Do you have any business cards?
Yeah, I do. I have a bunch back here, so.
I'll need a couple for
Yes,
baseball and
definitely like a
softball.
business card.
Okay.
So besides the brick and mortar
Yep.
evolution that you just talked about,
Yep.
what's the next step for Macaport? I mean, and I guess I found it very interesting that you tackled the online orders. I mean, not everybody's doing the online orders. It seems like you jumped on board with that one. So first of
Yeah.
all, what's your next evolution? And then maybe talk about your online orders thing and how easy or hard that was to implement.
Okay, well, for me, one of the reasons I got going on online right away is I had a roommate in college. He has a business where he creates websites for people. And that's the only reason I probably got into that is because I started sending him a message. I knew he was doing it. he kind of started doing it as like a hobby, and now he does it full time, but it ain't something where he's going crazy, where he's trying to do a lot of it. But I kind of sent him an idea of, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. And it took him about like a month or two to kind of come up with the concept of what I was doing. And he finally sent me it's like, hey, you want to come over and meet with me, and we can kind of go over what I have so far, tell me what you need and stuff like that. And that's where that kind of got going. So I was lucky where I had someone that had a background in it. But I personally, I'm not real good with online. I'm not good with social media, that kind of stuff, pushing stuff out that way. So I was fortunate where I have someone like that. Usually if I have a question as far as social media, I actually go to the kids I coach, because they're the ones that know what the heck's going on. And realistically, going forward, as I get more into like online and social media and stuff like that, I'll probably look at trying to hire one of the kids on the team that I know and stuff like that, to try and help get that going, and kind of have that be part of something where I'm having them kind of work on that, rather than something where I'm trying to do it and struggle with it and may not be doing it right, where I can oversee what they're doing, because they'll be able to knock it out 10 times faster than I can, and make it way more effective than what I can as well. But as far as moving forward, I do want to start pushing the on-site printing. I think that could be a big thing, especially at events where it is a tournament or something like that, where there's multiple teams coming in and stuff like that, where you can offer personalized names on the back or anything like that to help. Because a lot of times it's these tournaments and stuff like that, people want to kind of memorize like being there. So that it's just kind of like a souvenir type thing that they get from these bigger things. Oh yeah, yep. And I mean, you look at it's starting to pop up a lot more. I mean, when I was in high school, the only time you could get that was like the state meet. Now you're starting to see them pop up a little bit more at some of these other meets and stuff like that. And the one thing where I feel I have an advantage over a lot of these people is they are buying these transfers from the people I was buying them from originally. Now I'm producing these myself. That's probably these have them print, the image print is probably almost as much as the blank shirts were costing me. So being able to do that, I can cut my costs way down, because I can buy all the raw materials at a heck of a lot cheaper than having someone produce those. So where these people are just focusing on these events, and they're going out and they're buying these transfers, bringing them in, I plan on producing the transfers for all the events I need. Maybe I can have more than one design per event type of thing, where I can afford to do that. And so at the events I'm at, they have more options than some of these other people as well. Definitely want to do that. And then obviously try and get in, like I said, with businesses such as like Northland or some of the bars, or I do stuff for Casey Excavating, Mid-State Asphalt, where they're using the same shirt, but they may be going through safety yellow shirts because they're getting wore out on a fairly regular basis, where I can reduce how much they have in inventory, and I can replenish their stock a lot faster than what they can, and they don't have to order as much, so they're not spending so much money on shirts that are just sitting there waiting to be used. They can put that money to wherever they need it, and as they need it, I can just help them out that way.
I love your energy. You are so excited about it.
Yeah,
I can
thank
feel it. It's awesome.
So is this something that you still work outside of your own business, or is it become a full-time job? for you?
Just this fall, I took the leap and I went full-time with this. So that's where, I mean, that was probably the hardest part for me, because I mean, it is growing, but it got to the point where it was kind of like, well, I'm spending so much time doing this when I'm not working, on top of trying to coach and all that. I was like, if I want to give this a shot, if I think it can go, which I think it can, I gotta just take a jump and just give her a shot. And if it happens, awesome. And that's meant to be. If I fall on my face, I've learned what I'm doing. I'm in a point financially where I can take the risk to do it. And now it's just a matter of, as soon as I feel comfortable with where I'm at, take that next step into maybe looking at getting a building, or hopefully I'm sitting at a point where I feel comfortable doing that before I run out of space type of thing. Or if I run out of space, I'd maybe take that leap again and just kind of know that what you're going to do is going to be successful. Know you're going to go after it, and just kind of go after it, you know? So.
But to help you in your next evolutions, I would totally suggest, the chamber membership. And then April's got a business networking meeting once a month, that if you want to get in tied with all other businesses, great thing that she does.
And
with that.
I had found out, Bill had introduced me to that as
Yeah.
well, and I didn't know about that, and I did stop in there. It was hard for me for a while, because I was working my main job, it was always while I was working, so I had to kind of somehow get off and like tell them, hey, not tell them what I was doing type of thing. Hey, I'm going to go to this meeting to try and help my business, so I can quit your job.
Can I have some time off?
Yeah, right. So, but I think that's another great resource too, which I had not known about until it was brought to my attention as well. So, yeah, I want to thank you guys just for the opportunity. Hopefully, what I said kind of helped maybe spark some ideas with you guys. Obviously, I'll give you guys cards and stuff like that. I'm always available if you got questions that for a small bit. Like I said, I'm still out of my basement. I'm still real small doing it. So struggles that I'm having and stuff like that maybe can help get some ideas rolling with you guys moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was
Yeah.
very
No,
interesting.
no
Business
problem.
card, I would definitely-
Yeah, I'll have it. I can hand them over when you guys are done. Thank you.
All right, moving on, discussion on employee recruitment challenges for London businesses and brainstorming how the city can assist.
Okay, so April and I met with the plant manager for Tyson the other day, and I know the mayor and I met with the plant manager over at World Cheese a month and a half ago-ish, somewhere in there. And you guys have heard the story over and over. I mean, the employment recruitment, the employment retention challenges that everybody's having. So April and I thought it'd be a great idea just to kind of throw, I don't know if we're going to come up with anything, earth shattering right now, but maybe just to have that conversation and thought process in the back of our head. That's one of the things that I think businesses are obviously struggling with right now. And, I think just having that idea on our forefront of what can we do? I mean, it's not a matter of us going out and recruiting for them, but, is it our responsibility, is our opportunity to promote New London more? We started doing a great thing with our last video producer and just promoting New London. Is that what we can do? Is there other things we can do? April and I talked about getting some of the plant managers and some other, movers and shakers together, maybe from New London, and just having a group meeting together to start talking about collectively what we can do. But I guess just throwing it out there. April, I don't know if you got any other ideas or
Yeah, I was
suggestions.
just gonna add, I asked Chad, are we utilizing all of our resources when it comes to the regional partnership with the Fox Cities Chamber? So I don't know what that entails, but are we tapping into all those resources? When's the last time they've been here to speak to economic development? And is there anything that we can utilize from their programs and bring to New London?
And there's a lot of new people here. So the regional partnership is a group underneath the Fox Cities Chamber. The regional partnership is made up of all the municipalities within the Fox Valley. So it's municipalities getting together, and their group is called the Regional Partnership. They're in a reorganizational mode. I think there's a lot of new staff at the chamber, and there's a new finance person over there that they started talking about a lot of reorganization of what they can do for municipalities. So, yeah, and I'm new at this position, and I'm new representing New London with that group. So for me to tell you exactly what they've done for New London in the past, I can't really say that at this point. But I know we're going to be, part of that, conversation moving forward and making sure that, if we're going to be a part of this partnership, we want to make sure that we're, supported by them as well. So
Is it Eric that's our new contact?
Yep.
Maybe he would.
Eric is,
meeting and-
and we have the Fox Cities Chamber is working on having what's called the Bazaar After Dark. You may have heard that event. It's a special event that's happened in the Valley. I know Appleton and Nina and stuff have had it, and it's just kind of it's a chamber event. So Eric and Melissa, was that her name? I think. We met with them about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago to talk about that event. And Eric with the Fox Cities Chamber, one of his responsibilities is to come out and meet with businesses within the municipalities that are in the partnership. So that's going to be coming up forward too. So I'm going to be learning about that as well and what we can do to tap off those resources in the future. So.
You've been on this committee for a long time, Johnny. Is there anything that we did in the past that we could maybe revise or?
Well, I think
Two.
the one thing I learned recently was, I did get an email from Fox Cities Chamber they've been hosting this public policy luncheon. And I know you wanted to go, but you were busy, but back in late August or early September, they had a public policy luncheon focused on unraveling the workforce crisis. And, you know, I asked my wife, it's like $40 or something like that. And, you know, was it worth $40 for a little bait shop, like whatever, for just somebody that was interested in that? Because that's a topic both in the company I work at and in a small business. But it was, they had two speakers that were fantastic that I would never be able to go get and see, you know, hadn't that been there. But as a follow-up, there was, yeah, we had some cold sandwiches and some fruit and stuff like that. It didn't take very long. It was kind of an afternoon thing. But the speakers they had were, the one guy was Dennis Winters, who's known nationally, but he's currently in charge of Wisconsin Bureau of Workforce Information, Technical Support, Labor Market Information Director for Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development. And of course, right now at this given time with this topic, you know, he's a headliner that you want to go see. You want to see what he says. And I took some notes thinking that maybe some point later on, I could either report back to the company I work for or here, this committee. He said some interesting things. I won't get into that right now, but the other guy that was talking, in 2019, April, I saw this guy, was one of those, couldn't sleep, got up, turned on PBS, and it's University Place. You know, it's a night at the lab, or, you know, you might have a professor or something up there talking about indigenous people or whatever. But this was a talk, Wisconsin Rural Partners on PBS, and they had this guy from way up in Rice Lake, the guy just like any of you or, you know, anybody. And he's a city council person, and Dave Armstrong was his name. And he had small business owner and developed a few things. He was talking back in 2019 on University Place, and I thought, my gosh, this guy is saying some amazing things. He talked about housing, he talked about transportation. Back at the time, Dave Morak and April were talking about transportation and workforce recruitment and stuff like that. So back in April of 2019, I recognized this guy. I was like, I'd like to hear more of what he says. And he only talked for 10 minutes because he was a part of a panelist for this University Place. He was one of the headliners on this August thing with Fox Cities Chamber. So there, now he's got 2 years more behind his belt. He's economic development. Well, he has been economic development coordinator for Barron County. And so I got to see 2 years post-pandemic start of how some of these programs he talked about at the initial. And that was worth, I'd have paid $1,000 to see that guy talk. But when I went back to the Fox Cities Chamber to say, did you record that? Or is there any way I'd like to share that with this committee? There wasn't that, there wasn't no handouts, there wasn't anything. So it's very difficult for me to leave that. You know, I'd have brought my tape recorder if I'd, but to leave that and come back and put together a really good presentation of what that good information was for the rest of you or the company I work for. But a couple highlights that I took out of that was, you know, the guy from Department of Workforce Development, the first thing he said was, you know, it's not, you can go down to the tavern, you can go anywhere you want, and everybody wants to say, people don't want to work. No. Nick, did you leave your job because you don't want to work hard?
No,
You know? And there are a lot of things like that that are in play that it's real easy for people to say, nobody wants to work. But really factors are this guy who, when I was on the school board, I used to always be the guy to volunteer to go to the population study seminars, UW-Madison, but it's demographics. You've heard Dave Teal before he retired, who retired. But it's population, there's less people. And this guy Dennis Winters, basically, the number one thing you took out of his conversation there was, we're looking at negative labor force numbers right out to 2030. What are the answers? And everybody's hanging on, the CEO of Plexus is there, the CEO of all these companies are there in this nice place in Appleton, and we're listening to these guys, waiting for them to wave the holy grail or the wand, and we're gonna figure out our workforce challenge. This guy was basically saying, hold on, folks,
Not getting any better.
that's not even close to happening. So either automate, or here's 4 solutions he threw out there. He didn't get deep into it, but you're looking at offshoring, which we all know we don't want, because look at the situation we're in now with offshoring. Immigration, which I guess it's been an unpopular word for the last few years, but that's a solution to our crisis here. Which this other guy, Dave Armstrong, come up with a couple interesting points about that. And this is nonpartisan. You didn't even know at this going to this thing from the chamber, and I give him credit for that. You didn't know where anybody was politically, Democrat, Republican. There was totally political, neutral, gender neutral. Number 3, eliminate barriers of chronically unemployed. Now, we know we can do some work in that. I was lucky enough to sit at a table with people that were part of other organizations that April's probably worked with either disabled folks or people that have some of those unemployment barriers. Either they're maybe got too reliant on programs, or they're just fringe, borderline not employable, but just need some simple skills. And they were telling me, we don't even have any more people to send to they went from, so like everybody's tapped, every available, it's like there's hardly any bodies out there. And so that's less of a, big factor, but you definitely want to always look at eliminate those barriers of chronically unemployed people. And because of where we were in a pandemic and politically, they were saying, well, if you end all these stupid benefits you're giving people, they'll enter the workforce again. This guy from the Department of Workforce Development said that's not true. And he put numbers out there for everybody. That's why I wish I could get that link from that meeting so all of you could see the whole thing. Then the other one was technology, and that everybody there, some of these industry people were nodding their heads like this. By technology, this guy, Dennis Winters, was saying automate, here's where the automation would come in, or have your employees more technologically trained or skilled. So a lot of that has to do with workforce training and stuff like that. So those were 4 big ones from Dennis Winters. And the other guy who I can email, and I tried to prepare like a little, would be like a cheat sheet or crib notes for you on Dave Armstrong, but we've been on that road and we've talked about a lot of those things in this committee, but and it was from his April 19th or April 25th, 2019 talk. Some of those things that he was talking about are really relevant to what's going on in New London, what we can be doing better. The housing, he talked about that immigration thing. And the first thing that came to my mind is how, not Flanagan anymore, but Great Lakes Grout brought in some workers from, where was the Haiti or somewhere?
Vision too.
And, that worked for them and stuff like that. But this guy from way up in Rice Lake was talking about what worked in their community up there. But then they got big veneer plants and they got some other things, some cool things up there for industry, but they were really short. So there was people in the community that house some of these people. Then they had the housing issue for these people. Then they reached out to like Eastern Europe and like Poland. And believe it or not, there are cities in Wisconsin, a lot smaller than us, that are doing that, that are reaching out to like Belarus or Poland and trying to get some of these folks in, and then they work with school districts on the language barriers and this and that. That's how short people we are. We're like, I haven't reached out to, now he's a state representative, Dave Armstrong. But again, he's very political, gender neutral as far as he's not there to talk about Republican, Democrat, but I'd be willing to bet that since he came and talked in August, that those people up in Rice Lake are trying to get some of those folks from Afghanistan working in those factories up there. But it's really, I'd love to send you guys the link to the PBS University Place Rural Partners Committee reports link, where you can at least talk or listen to some of this. There was other times that he talked on that, and there were communities that did some really interesting things with young people in their high schools, where they made a place downtown. Amazing stuff that we could really all advance ourselves, probably a whole year's worth of sitting around talking about ideas, but then come back to another meeting if we kind of do a little bit of that homework and bring some of those ideas out of there. And some of the ideas that popped up for me were based off of hearing from these people. Were like, so I got back home and I'm thinking, wow, that's a really big challenge for a lot of people sitting in that room. But then I looked at my own business, I work outside of the business, but so I need to hire somebody for a couple days a week. How do you do that? Because you can't really offer them insurance. You can't, somebody might need more than 2 days a week unless I try to get Fred, a retired guy, or somebody like that. So what about things like an employee exchange program where, hey, I got 2 days at Johnny's, but April needs people for 2 days a week, and Ben's got a big event this weekend, or Nick's got a big event this weekend. So a lot of ideas by listening to people like that can kind of come out of it. But I think that April, you're right, and Chad, that maybe a subcommittee starting to look at this, because it's not going away anytime soon. We're here in it's 2022 basically, and 2030, we're still the numbers. And I don't anticipate the birth rate going up anymore, and neither does any expert in Wisconsin. So the Fox Cities Chamber, I really wish they would have recorded that, because there were some great things that both of those speakers said that really put a lot of things, for me, they put them to dispel. Oh yeah, that's rumor. That's just jumping on a bandwagon saying nobody wants to work. They're all lazy. And then on the other side, some really good ideas, thinking outside of the box. What are 4 solutions or 5 solutions? And then for small business, thankfully for my wife and I, and I kind of too personal to ask Nick, but it's a big leap of faith to leave a full-time job. I don't know if you had health insurance and benefits at that job, but what does a person that's leaving something like that, the security of that, do for health insurance? Well, Lynn Tank helped us out big time in making that decision. But there's a lot of people moving this way in the labor force right now. And so the other thing, when I presented to the folks I meet with weekly for work, was we started a company that delivers produce to people's homes. And we've got all these vans that used to be used for circulation. Thank God we're not. Thank God we go through the U.S. Postal Service, and we got rid of a large headache there, and then we get guaranteed delivery. But we've got vans that used to deliver lots of papers to a lot of different people who delivered then from there. What about, in talking with some of these folks down there at the convention, or at the policy luncheon, Transportation was a big part of that conversation. But there's an opportunity there for a business to step in and say, look, we've got vans, we've got transport vehicles. We've got people taking out produce anyway. We've got some people maybe delivering some publications, but that van's sitting there for a lot of part of the week. How about you guys give us a list of people that need transportation to work and kind of get, this is just an idea, but without talking about how do you develop it, but like a Uber for companies. I'm sure Tyson doesn't want to buy a bus fleet and start running routes. But there's other companies that can do that efficiently because they're out there running anyway. And they've got the mapping systems. They know where every address is. They know where everything. So there's opportunities to solve that part of a problem through another business, through, and so going to things like that. And I was glad that, the Fox Cities Chamber hosted that public policy luncheon, because I left there and then my mind was working and thinking and stuff. And I happened to come across this guy, Representative Dave Armstrong there, who I listened to at a couple other things on PBS. And then, so I guess, long story short, I think we need to keep that workforce situation very much on our radar, because we can, and Dave, I just watched another one from him today, or I rewatched the 2019 thing, and he's like, yeah, we spent $45,000 on a video promoting our, and that worked and everything, but we're competing with, it's like, some of that money might be better spent in figuring out the actual place for the people once you do get them to come to work, where they're gonna stay. And it wasn't like, he's like, yeah, they're building $250,000 homes all over Rice Lake, but workforce housing, you're looking at something, 50,000 to 80, and he was talking about rent levels and stuff like this. And Rice Lake is, up north, but you could see the correlation to what he was talking about with our community in New London. So the answer is for everyone to do a little bit more homework and put those barriers in your mind away, that it's not just people don't want to work.
I think it's also partnering with the Fox Cities Chamber, bringing them in. We were talking, it's interesting that you mentioned all these things, because we were talking with Tyson about the exact same thing. What are the answers? Is it automation? Is it immigration? He was talking about housing, providing housing for employees. All those things were.
Transportation, he was saying, they've
Yep.
got
they have
Enterprise
a
over there right
contract
now.
With Enterprise right now.
They are
ready to
transporting
roll.
people for work. He said if he's got
Now
6 people
200
down in
employees.
Oshkosh and they want to come work, he'll send a shuttle down to Oshkosh, go pick them up. So, I mean, you're right on with all that. Yep. So I think for us, I mean, like you said, continue having this back in your head, because this is something that's gonna, be affecting our businesses and even our employees, our recruitment purposes in the future. But like you said, transportation, housing, I mean, we've got some really good housing coming forward. Is it workforce housing? Some of the apartments might be. The newer single family homes are going to be a little bit probably more expensive than the typical entry level workforce housing, but I think it's just a matter of, like you said, keep it in the back of our head, using the resources that are in front of us, like the chamber or whatever else. I wish I would have came to that one. I didn't.
Both of you had something legitimate. That was a really busy time for them to throw that out there, but I know that you both you were going at another seminar of some sort. But I will at the very least try to get that email list of everybody on this committee and email you at least the one University Place rural park, Wisconsin rural park. Just even watching it was like 50 minutes long, but really the first 12 minutes is where a lot of what Armstrong was saying, that those just chiming in on something like that. you can ask the day, what's your day, because like, get your mind going. Bring ideas, you know. Bill, what, Small Business Association. Yeah. I think we had that guy from Stevens Point over here once, and I'm sure it's never left the back of Bill's mind. And Bill's there to help. So, I mean, every one of us has a very important role as individual committee members to try to reach out to folks who be that agent of economic development, you know, mayor everywhere he goes. So I will try to email you guys any links to anything, any other talks that.
Why don't you email to me, because I got,
Sure. And I couldn't get a hold of anybody with the Fox City's chamber today in time, but it was late in my thought process that, hey, this is on the agenda tonight, I should probably think maybe somebody had it. And I couldn't find anything, but that would have been a great thing to share with you. Maybe in the future, chamber, you know, when next time you got speakers like that coming into the Fox Valley, maybe take a lesson from London and Zoom it or something and have it available to that would be the people.
I said, if we wanted to make a partnership, we're getting out of it.
That's massive. I feel like I talk a lot longer than I should, but yeah, I agree with you. Let's utilize those memberships we've got.
I think Dave's putting a future agenda every once in a while, so in the both months. So if there's anything that overshadows that. They just, know that it's something to.
All right, moving on to updates and reports.
So I just have a couple updates for you. There is a new building listed at 510 West North Water Street. That's Mirage right here. So you just came in, she's listing her building. We've already had a couple people interested in it. She's hoping to keep it on for at least the first year. But it's a beautiful location right on the water. There's a lot of opportunity there. I'm going to give an update on Tyson, but we already talked about that. Chad, am I correct? Did he say they're losing 2 to 3 employees every month due to retirement on top of being 200 employees down?
I heard the 200 employees down, but it was a lot.
You're humbling.
He's at a level of production right now that is not coming forward. 60% production right now. And corporate's kind of saying, they don't have a lot more.
There is a new business in town, Seth Isaac Creations. He's renting, his place. It's 220 West North Water Street. It's the building right next to Lynn Bank. I think he's just checking out our market. He's got a 4-month lease. He's from Hawaii and he sells handmade coffee tables. They go for about $3,000 or $4,000 in Hawaii. So I have a feeling that's not going to fly around here. I said you're probably right, but he's going to check out the market anyway. So make sure you get out and check that out. I spoke with the Grand Cinema Theater owner. He has a new manager in place and they're working hard to open soon. There's some kinks with his equipment that they're trying to work out, but we're hoping that the doors will open soon. So when they do, please get up. A realtor confirmed with me this morning that Ascension purchased the land across from Walmart to develop. That is what he's been wondering, who's purchased that land right across from Walmart. That was Ascension. Just want to share with the committee that the chamber continues to share the Main Street Bounce Back Grant updates, and we include a link to all the vacant buildings that we have in mind, and that's catching attention. Chad and I met with a prospective business owner from the Fremont area who's interested in moving her business into New London, so I think people's attention is good to see. Questions?
City administrator report. Sitting back on another business. Guardian, I mentioned before that they purchased
warehousing unit on the corner of North Water Street and Highway S, it's just east, across Highway S east of the co-op, the warehousing. They are really expecting they've got plan almost to double that facility over there for construction. So kind of long official. Arden, it's from what area, machinery type stuff like that. So I don't know if we hear exactly, but they do wiring or wiring like. So congratulate them. Hopefully, work on that. I think I'm gonna just want to have let everybody know what happened now. So we did fill our video producer marketing position, Josh Disney. Position. She's going to start on December 6th, so next Monday. Kind of interesting career. So a lot of his videos currently works for Fox 11 and also works for NBC 26. So obviously, publishing and recording history. Also has worked for some hunting videos, for hunting productions. See those hunting videos that went off. So video recording. Josh and Boyd, just kudos to April. Every time I turn it on, I think I'm gonna get up on her with contact, something like that. She's already got it figured out. Make contact, set up a meeting. So the one is awesome.
You call it gossip, I'm just nosy.
Well, I gotta put in some words up. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chad. You potential agenda items for future meetings?
I don't have anything right now. I guess we'll continue to kind of talk about, you can talk a little bit more about the group together of business managers and stuff together. If there's an update on that, we can bring that.
Public comment?
We're looking for three.
Just ask about the restaurant over here. There's the restaurant going in for the pork cafe. I know that they're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Have you heard? what they're doing?
So we knew that an owner came in and he at least said something pretty much. So.
Building permits and Mexican restaurant.
That's besides the other two parties I had contact me that opened the restaurant here too, so. Seems like that type of business is pretty popular.
More popular. Buildings are up. Before December would be the 28th. It's typically in between Christmas and New Year's, which is not the best timing. Maybe we skip December.
We usually take December.
I think we do.
I think we usually take December out. For this meeting.
The next one will be January 25th.
I will email anything I find to Chad and then anybody else comes across anything in regards to the proposed issues or have any ideas. Probably send them to Chad.
Skip December, go January 25th.
Yeah, just stupid shit.
Stick
Stick with that.
Adjourned.